When it comes to getting into a boxing stance, there's multiple layers. There's multiple things that you do, and I'm a big believer in anything that you do when it comes to boxing needs to have a reason. It can't just be because someone told you it before, or everything has to have a reason. Like, you don't have to independently trust your trainer. It should make sense on its own. So I'm gonna give you a perfect example. So first things first is you gotta figure out which side and which hand you're dominant in and which stance you're comfortable with. So for example, most of the time, if you're a right-handed fighter, if this is your most powerful hand, you're gonna stand with that hand in the back. Now, some people and some trainers think that you have to stand certain ways. I'm not a big believer in that. I think you should stand with what's most comfortable, and as long as you know what you're doing and why you're doing it, it can work either way. So you can have a powerful right hand and be dominant in your right hand and have it in the front, or you can have a powerful right hand, dominant right hand, and keep it in the back, vice versa in either direction. I'm a big believer in go with what's comfortable and what makes sense, and then we work around that. So for this one, I'm gonna say that I'm a right-handed fighter. I like writing with my right hand. This is my strong hand. So most of the time, we're gonna keep that in the back, right? Now, there's a couple other elements when it comes to your stance and why you stand the way that you do. What you present matters heavily. So for example, there's a big reason why I lined everything up with this line that's right here, and I'm gonna get into it right now. No matter what's going on, 99.9% of the time when you're boxing, you need to make sure that there's a line between your front toe and your back heel. And here's the reason why. If this is your most powerful hand, and this is the hand that you like to use, and this is the hand that you want to land, you need to make sure that there's a line in between. And the biggest reason why is your power is going to lie in your ability to line this foot up and throw this hand. I'll give you an example. So if you're in this stance, and let's say you're crowding the line or your feet are a little bit too tight, the problem is you're going to be a little off balance when it comes to left and right. And also, if you could see me from here, if I go to turn my right hand, because I'm so close to the line, I don't really have a place to draw my power from, and I'm too like top heavy. Like, I'm going to flow either to the left or the right too much. Now, if you make sure that your left foot is on the left side and your right foot is on the right side, you can easily see that just when it comes to lines and lining up, that if I sit and I turn, I'm way more stronger in this position than I would be if I'm crowding the line, or obviously worst case scenario if your feet are crossed. So the biggest thing I got to tell people when it comes to boxing stances, if you have a powerful side and a powerful hand, do not rob your ability to land that hand by having your feet incorrect. So for example, if the millisecond I'm in front of an opponent, I see there's an opportunity to throw a right hand, but my feet are incorrect, the opportunity's gone. There's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do to change it. But as long as you always stand with this separation, the millisecond something comes up, it's kind of just like pulling a trigger. It's like having a gun and pulling a trigger. You can just kind of shoot as soon as you see the moment, right? So that's for feet placement, right? Another thing is, another thing to think about is, you got to make sure this foot's over on this side and this foot's over on this side. Now, a lot of times when people think about the top half of their body, they think to keep their hands up, keep them parallel, but you have to kind of use your critical thinking and think, whatever you see as a target on yourself in the mirror is what your opponent's going to see. So if I simply walk up to you and I'm like this, and my hands are parallel, and this is the flat side of my body, for right now I'm going to call this the flat side of the piece of paper. If I am presenting the flat side of the piece of paper, there's a lot of target here, whether that's up the middle, whether that's around. I am a pretty decently big target, and I don't want to give my opponent that. So what's a simple way to kind of solve this? If you take the flat side of the piece of paper and you kind of turn it on an angle and you get a little bit thinner, this target now turns to this. Again, you can't really prevent every part of your body from being a target at all points, but I want to minimize that as best as I can. I don't want to present this, I want to present this. Now, in the process of shadow boxing and working, it's not going to feel natural. Like, it's going to take a little while for you to naturally get used to being in this position and fire punches from this position, but the benefit is simple. The benefit is if I'm a thin target and I can throw punches off of this and I can land punches off of this and I'm minimally, most of the time I'm thin. It's not that my opponent can't hit me, but it's just going to be a way different target for them to hit. So again, we'll start everything over from the beginning. First things first, which side of the hand you want to pick, right? It's either going to be this way or it's going to be this way. Second thing is, make sure you have a line between that front toe and the back heel. I'm not saying that you can't float on either side, but once you start encroaching, you see where I'm at? Once you kind of start getting here, you're playing a dangerous game because when you go to throw, you're not going to have the leverage you want. So make sure your feet are on opposite sides. I actually probably prefer you to be a little bit more separate than necessary. Now you take the top half of your body. This is your front shoulder. Another way I could tell people is like, this is your, if you're doing target practice, this is what you're going to line up with your opponent. So if I'm here and I'm thin, right, I'm protecting all this side of my body with this arm just by being here. It doesn't have to do anything. This hand's actually, if you can really think about it, this hand's a lot more closer to my opponent. So instead of it being back here, by it being in front, it's actually a lot more closer to where my target would be. Now, when I go to step and slide, this hand's already close, and then when I step in, all I have to do is sit and turn and pick when to choose this side. So again, you pick which side that you want, your left side, your right side, you have the line down the middle, you take the flat side of the piece of paper, you turn it thin, you let your right elbow, this is for the right-handed fighters, you let your right elbow chill on your right rib, right? And your right thumb by your eyebrow. This should be like standard. A lot of times people hear from boxing coaches or they're trainers, they're told, keep your hands by your chin. I'm not a big believer in having your hand by your chin for a couple reasons. Is if someone throws a left hook, which is right over here, and my hand's by my chin, I'm going to have a big problem. But if I let the thumb rest by my eyebrow, now I don't even have to do much. I can kind of just sit here and relax. The rib's taking care of my body, the thumb's taking care of the right side of my body, and now this left hand can do a lot of the distracting and a lot of the setting up so that when I go to throw my right hand, it's right there. Another thing, you're probably only going to see this from a different angle. People think about when it comes to weight distribution in their legs, right? Every trainer has their own thoughts. Here's my thoughts. Some people say you should distribute your weight 50-50, right? Not against 50-50, but I'm a big believer in 60% of the weight on your back, 40% of the weight on the front. Reason being, this back leg needs to be your spring. This is where you're getting your power from on that power hand. If at any point you shift your weight to the front, you can do this as you're watching it. If you shift your weight to the front and you go to throw that back hand, you don't have much of a spring to draw from. So my best advice is keep your weight in the back. As you're coming up with your jab, continue to maintain the weight on the back foot so that when you get to your opponent and you sit and turn, this spring is already loaded, and all you have to do is just shoot from that foot, right? I'm going to show you from this side. If my opponent is in front of me and they're right here, and at any certain point in time, I have my weight a little too far forward, you could already see, it's not that I'm off balance, but I don't really have much to draw from when I go to throw this too. Now instead, if I keep my weight in the back and I approach the person with my weight in the back and I still keep the thin side of the piece of paper, by the time I get to them with my jab or with my 1 and my 2, this is loaded up. I could just sit and turn, and last but not least, don't sit and turn and bring your weight to the front. Many times if you're boxing somebody and they have any type of skill, they want you to overcommit, right? They want you to overcommit to this hand and hope that you overextend yourself. You got to make sure that whether you're practicing on the bag, whether you're practicing on the pads, you keep your weight back here, because worst case scenario, if my weight's in the back and the person comes up on me, I can just take another step back, right? Keeping your weight in the back is advantageous because you can operate real well from here. And also, super worst case scenario, if the person comes up on me a whole lot, I can just rotate. There's so many things I can do if somebody approaches me aggressively with my weight in the back, rather than if I'm overextending myself, overcommitting myself. And most of the time, if I'm here, I don't want to be here. I have nothing to draw from when it comes from power. And my opponent's ability to counter me is just it's too easy for them. So have your feet on either side of the line, right? Make sure that it stays on either side of the line. You should not be stepping in with the jab and ending up like this. People wonder why their backhand doesn't have the power. You have to practice starting here and ending here and ending here, so that when you try to do the two, sometimes it might take you 3 jabs to get to your opponent. So I might go 1, 2, 3, and I can push because, again, that foot is in the right position. If you come up and you do a couple of jabs and by the end you're like this, you're on the line, you have a big problem. So those are the simple things. Keep a foot on either side. Take the flat side of the piece of paper, turn it nice and thin. Put that back elbow on the rib. Put your thumb on your eyebrow. Put this elbow on this rib. Thumb, let it float by your eyebrow. And this is your best ideal position when it comes to a boxing stance. Again, keeps yourself thin, keeps you nice and in line, keeps it hard for your opponent to hit you at any angle, and also you have most of the power because you're maintaining your weight on your back foot, you're keeping your power to yourself, you're not overcommitting, and if a person steps in, you can slide back and hit him. You can slide back and hit him. You maintaining your weight, you keeping your legs underneath you, and making sure you're not throwing punches and falling forward and overcommitting. So again, that is my advice on what I think the best boxing stance is. If you want to follow for more, please do. If you have any questions, you could definitely leave it in the comments. I would love to answer any questions if anybody has any questions on this. And this is Coach Steve from Reverend Eye Boxing. I appreciate you watching.